The sun bled over the plains, setting the sky aflame with streaks of gold and crimson. Wind swept across the dry land, whispering through the brittle grass like the ghosts of the past. Emma staggered through the wasteland, her breath ragged, her knees bruised and her hands shaking. The scent of smoke still clung to her torn shirt, the memory of the raid that had left her world in ashes. Behind her, the small town of Willow Creek lay silent, swallowed by dust and tragedy. She'd lost everything, her family, her home, her will, but not her heart. Her heart still beat like a drum of war. When she collapsed by a lone oak near the river, her vision blurred. Hooves thundered in the distance. A horse slowed, snorting and stamping, and a shadow loomed tall over her. It was a rancher, rough, bearded, with eyes carved from sorrow and steel. He wore the weariness of a man who'd seen too much and cared too little for the world's mercy. His name was Colt Mathers, known across the county as the man who never forgave and never forgot. "Looks like you've been through hell," he said, kneeling beside her. His voice was gravel and storm. I can still fight," she gasped, clutching her wounded arm. "Just don't stop." "I can't stop now." Her words struck something deep in Colt, something buried beneath years of bitterness. He saw the fire in her eyes, the same fire that once burned in him before life doused it with betrayal. He helped her onto his horse and rode to his ranch at the edge of the canyon, where the land stretched endless and empty. There he tended her wounds in silence. She tried to speak, but he hushed her with a quiet firmness, not out of cruelty, but to keep her strength from fading. Days passed. The girl healed slowly, her scars glowing like battle medals. Colt noticed her determination. She refused to rest, always trying to help around the ranch, feeding the horses, hauling water, learning to shoot even with trembling hands. One evening, as the sun fell behind the canyon, she asked, "Why did you save me?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked toward the horizon, where the graves of his wife and son lay. "Because I couldn't save them," he finally said. That night, the silence between them carried weight, not of fear, but of understanding. Two souls, both shattered, both refusing to stay broken. The next morning, Colt taught her to ride, to defend herself, to fight back against the fear that chained her spirit. Every stumble, every bruise, every painful breath reminded her of her words. Hurt, but don't stop. She grew stronger. He grew human again. But storms were brewing, the same gang that burned. Willow Creek Road again, and Emma's scars screamed their name. She knew she couldn't hide forever. Colt knew revenge wasn't the answer, but justice was. Together, they prepared for the reckoning that would decide their fates. As the final light of day faded, she looked at him and whispered, "If I fall, promise me one thing." Colt turned, eyes fierce. "You're not gonna fall, Emma. Promise me you won't stop." He nodded, "Not until it's over." And somewhere deep in the night, under the endless stars, two wounded hearts began to heal through the fire they were about to walk into. The dawn came cold, painted in silver mist. Colt saddled his horse while Emma strapped a rifle across her shoulder. The town ahead was nothing but ruins now. Yet in the heart of those ruins waited the men who had taken everything from them. "You sure about this?" Colt asked. Emma met his gaze with steel in her eyes. "If we don't fight, they'll do it again. To someone else." He gave a grim nod. "Then we ride." The wind howled as they rode across the barren plains, dust rising like smoke behind them. When they reached the edge of Willow Creek, the sound of laughter and bottles echoed through the wrecked saloon. The outlaws were drunk on arrogance, believing the ghosts of the town had long since fled. Colt dismounted silently, scanning the shadows. "You take the left," he murmured. Emma's hands trembled, but her heart didn't. She moved like a whisper through the debris, remembering every scream, every flame, every moment of pain. Her chest burned with a fire hotter than fear. The first shot rang out. Colt's rifle cracked through the dawn, followed by chaos. Men stumbled, shouting, reaching for guns that came too late. Emma ducked behind a barrel, firing with precision learned from pain. She hit one, then another. Her breath came hard, but her resolve was unbreakable. Colt fought like a storm unleashed, not for vengeance, but for peace. Every shot echoed years of loss. Every move carried the weight of redemption. When the dust settled, silence returned. The gang lay defeated, and the sun rose high, golden and pure. Emma fell to her knees, trembling, tears cutting through the grime on her face. Colt approached her slowly, his voice low. "It's done." She looked up, eyes shining with relief and sorrow. We did it. We actually did it. He helped her stand. Oh, he said quietly. You did it. You didn't stop. She smiled weakly. Neither did you. As the wind brushed through the ashes of Willow Creek, it carried not the sound of despair, but of rebirth. The land would heal, and so would they. Back at the ranch, Emma began rebuilding the barn, laughing for the first time in months. Colt watched from a distance, the corners of his mouth turning upward slightly. The ghosts were quieter now. That night, as the fire crackled and the stars burned bright, Colt spoke softly. You ever think about leaving this place? Emma shook her head. Not until it becomes home again. He smiled. Then I guess we've both got work to do. The camera would fade on the two, the firelight, flickering over their faces. Survivors who found strength not in perfection, but in persistence.